And here we have it, folks. Urania in Libra. And for those of you who are following along at home, she's at 18 degrees and 21 minutes when we start off the week of April 8th. And Urania entered Libran energy at the end of October in 2023. So if you think back in time a little bit, it's a few months ago, right? We think back, maybe it's 6 months ago by now. But we think back to what was going on, whether it was in our own lives. Did we have to get a lawyer? Were we discussing something with a lawyer? Were we contemplating something with a lawyer? Were there things going on with our civil liberties and the law and the courtrooms and lawyers in general being in the spotlight? And maybe some things that we weren't aware of before, some behind the scene things. Now here in the U.S., it seems that the court cases, lawyers are always in the news. But it's fascinating, especially because Urania is conjunct the South Node. She is a few degrees away here, but this is the day of the eclipse. And there's a lot of other things that went on during this eclipse. But to find out what those things are, go watch that other video. This video is going to be focused more on the week of. So we start off with the focus. I'll show you the eclipse. I've got it drawn out here, April 8th. And there it is. That's when the sun and the moon are together at the same degree. And they're at 19 degrees, right? 19 degrees. Aries, 19 degrees in Aries. This is a North Node eclipse because that's where the North Node is in Aries. So it's a new moon, which means it's a new beginning of some sort. Something about your future. Aries is always saying, I want to start something. Okay, I want to start something. So there's something different happening. We might be hearing different things about fighting and about wars. There might be a change of plans. There may be a different approach. Just be aware that, as the sun moves on and gets away from the Aries energy, it'll go into Taurus energy. And, a lot of the energy that we have, like things are moving and changing, right? Things are moving and changing. And this North Node is decreasing. And after 2024 is over, the North Node will enter Pisces. So even though it's like, oh my God, the North Node in war, Aries, right? Well, what will happen in your mind? What do you think, how that North Node is going to change its temperament when it enters Pisces in 2025? Right. So you see how we know things will change. We know things are going to change. Okay. Now, with that said, we're going to move on to what else is happening. We've got Mercury, who just began its retrograde. It went to like 27 degrees of Aries, so it's at 24 here. Mercury's going to go all the way back. Yep, this week Mercury will go all the way back and get very close to that North Node, which means Mercury will be having a conversation with the North Node, but that's not all. We'll get there. Let's go back up here. Here's the eclipse drawn in on the 8th, but the next day, the 9th, well, let's put it like this. On the 8th, Black Moon Lilith is going to be at 0 degrees. Black Moon Lilith will actually be here at 0 degrees in Libra, which puts Black Moon Lilith in a very strong trine, a very strong air trine with Pluto. And we even have something happening with Pluto this week, because you see the degrees of Pluto here on this chart. 1 degree, 1 minute, 1 degree in 58 minutes. Well, Pluto's going to go to 2 degrees this week. Right. So we're going to talk about that. We'll mention when that happens. Remember, Pluto is change and transformation at a very deep level. Aquarius is group energy. We think of unions. We think of humanitarian. I think we're still recording. StreamYard just totally shut down in the midst of recording. I'm so sorry. Jeez. Okay, let's get this back up here. I'm so sorry. There was like no warning. It just all of a sudden stopped. And there's no reason. You know what it said? Oh, snap. Reload and try again. Oh, thanks. Okay. Jesus. Yeah. So Pluto, deep dive on Pluto for a second, is major changes. Pluto works slowly behind the scenes or under the scenes or below the surface, I should say. So we think of social causes. I also want to make a mention here. When we think Pluto, Pluto is power. Pluto is power. Okay. Uranus is the people. It is you as an independent person. It is you independently powerful, right? Some people possibly saying, I want to be independently powered, like literally, like I want to get off the grid. Those are those people, right? I don't want to be dependent on city water or city power. Like I want to be independent. It can be looking like that. It can also be the grid as far as generally, like, yeah, we think of Texas, the state of Texas, always having issues with their power grid and how Tesla is there, right? Aquarius, Tesla energy. And we understand like power in terms of batteries and storing power. Aquarius energy, new and technology, Aquarius energy, different, trend setting, inventors, creations, intellect, highly intellectual energy. So intellectual power even. And a time we'll have a resurface, a resurgence of true value being based on authenticity, but also the intellect. Okay. I also want to take a quick second to mention, because I haven't mentioned it, but I'm going to go ahead and say this now. And I've been resisting it for a while now, but it's quite obvious, I think, on the world stage. And so I think it's time to just say it. This is authoritarians. Okay. So there, I said it. When you have Pluto in Aquarius, yes, you are going to see authoritarians being more blatant than ever before, saying shit where they're openly saying, I am, like I can think of a couple of different world leaders or people, somebody who might have been a leader at one time or who had a place of power, of real leadership, where they're just openly stating down with democracy, right? And so this has been going on globally, but it's becoming just like shamelessly obvious now, where it's sure, I'm going to be your leader. I'm going to be your authoritarian. I'm going to rule over you without a doubt. So for the little people, us, you and me, it is our time to recognize we are also empowered. But what does Aquarius teach us? Our power is when we learn how to work together. Remember, divided we fall, united we stand. Like that is a real thing. And so this is that time for us to kind of be organized in a lot of different ways to let them know this is not okay. Because if we sit idly by, this is how they rise, because we sit idly by. That is the only way they can rise. So Pluto's here to say, do what you need to do. Now, we're not talking about, let if it harms none, let it be done. So let's just be clear about that. I'm not saying go and do horrible things to people. I think there are ways where we have lots of great people from our past and our history who taught us how to protest in nonviolent ways. Okay, and that is what I'm all about. Now, what does this have to do with all of this? Well, Black Moon Lilith and Pluto are trining. Black Moon Lilith at 0 degrees, 1 and 0 degrees, right? On the 8th and on the 9th. When we get further into the 9th, Black Moon Lilith retrogrades further back and goes into 29 degrees of Virgo. 29 degrees of Virgo. And guess what? If she's at 29 degrees of Virgo, what is she doing then? Well, now at 29 degrees of Virgo, she's trining Sedna. So it's like Black Moon Lilith is like this, I want to call her the, can I say it? She's the BBB. Do you know what I mean when I say that? She really is. She first has a conversation with Pluto and then an intimate conversation with Sedna. Holy shit. She is the BBB. And I ain't talking about the Better Business Bureau either. Okay. And I'm not talking about a color because she's called Black Moon Lilith. She is the well, you just guess what I'm talking about. All right. And if you have, I'll give you a hint. Yeah, the first word might be a curse word. So just put a non whatever letter in the comments because they don't like you to curse in the comments. But let's see who can guess what my BBB stands for her. Yeah, She's here, and yeah, she's stirring up some stuff. She's stirring up some trouble. Black moon is about the moon. Think of the moon cycles. Think of feminine energy. Think of people. Think of ancestry. Think of homes. Literally, the sticks and the bricks, but nurturing and security and essential needs, folks. Our essential needs. Think about that, right? So that's our first part of the week. And then I've got written down also at the same time Mercury. I've got Mercury here. I've got Mercury conjunct the sun because she's retrograding, right? She started retrograding at 27. So already by like the 9th and the 10th, she's at the exact degrees as the sun in Aries. Now, so for that moment, that day, there's a time, right? Like the day before, the day after, we call that the Kazemi. So our brain, our Mercury, and our communications are probably a little combative, but there's that little moment like on the 9th and the 10th when they're at the exact degrees and minutes. And there will be an inspirational time of communication and information from the sun where we feel like we're the authority, where Mercury and the sun are literally holding hands. There's that little window of time. So just pay attention to that time for yourself in your own life as to what that may what kind of information you may get. It will be about yourself. It'll be about the freedoms and the actions of your body. How will you know more information? You know, because you'll know where 22 degrees of Aries is in your chart. Find out what house number it's in. See, in this chart, it's in the second house. So for you, you want to find out in your chart where's 22 degrees of Aries. The sun and Mercury are going to hook up there. They're going to be there and they're going to have a conversation. And I think I have the 10th written down for that. I think that's what this is. On the 10th, they have that conversation. So pay attention, find out what area of your life by looking what area of your chart, what chart number. Now, if you find it and you don't know what that means for you, put it in the comments below. Give me a refresher because I record a lot of videos by the time I'll be reading the comments about this. So say, G, you mentioned to tell you Mercury and the sun, 22 degrees in Aries. I found them. They're in this number house. What does it mean? That's all you got to tell me. Okay. And then I'll be able to give you the information that will help me to help you in an efficient way. Okay. Now, not to give you whiplash, but we're going to the 11th. And on the 11th, we've got Pluto. Pluto hits for the very first time in our lives 2 degrees of Aquarius. Minutes matter with Pluto. Degrees and minutes matter, but the minutes big time. So this is 2 degrees and 0 minutes for the first time ever, right? It's in Aquarius energy. This can be nerves. This can be your ankles. This can be your intellect. This can be getting downloads. This can be like, oh my God, like I'm understanding something I never understood before in a very deeply transformational way. So some people may be elevating literally because your intellect may be taking an elevation. Where's the 2 degrees of Aquarius in your chart? That's how you understand the more details of where this shows up in your life. The 2 degrees of Aquarius. Okay. Pluto's changing and transforming your intellect, your creative intellect. This is astrology. This is astronomy. This is friends and group energy. This is social causes. This is how do I become more about what is good for humankind, the bigger family, humanity. From the 9th to the 11th, Mars conjunct Saturn. Mars is your body. There can be restrictions. You may feel a little tired. You may feel there might be back or injuries, teeth, the knees, any hard parts of the body, the spine. There just might be something. So just be cautious. If you need to rest, take your rest. Mars conjunct Saturn in Pisces. You definitely may need more sleep. Make sure you give yourself more sleep. I'm already feeling it. And I'm recording this at the end of February. It's not so much the Mars, but I'm feeling how the sun is in Pisces. Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, I need more sleep. I absolutely do. And Nessus tends to be that centaur that wants revenge. So once we get to the 13th to 14th, Mars is conjunct Nessus. So you want to be careful as far as with like conspiracy theories or things that seem behind closed doors or sneaky or backhanded, or if it's too good to be true. Just be cautious of that, especially if you're going to take an action. Just take the back seat. Mars is going to pass over Nessus. right? Because when Mars and Nessus get together, they're like two malefics together. And well, in Pisces prison, yeah. So you get my drift. You got three ingredients for, ooh, let's do this. So just be smart in whatever it is that you're doing. For some of you, it might just take a creative mode. You might want to create something. You might paint something. You might take that sort of energy and write some poetry or create a really wicked type of a story, like a thriller or a horror flick or something. So kind of use that energy in a creative way. Whenever we talk about Pisces, it's prayer, it's surrender, it's make believe. Okay. If you don't like those things, then listen to music. Make some damn music if you got to be active, right? Do something, but make it creative so that it doesn't harm anyone. Okay. So that's like from the 13th to the 16th. But that's not all. That's not all. We also are looking at Venus. At the beginning of this week on the eclipse, Venus was conjunct Hygeia. I believe I've talked about that already, but that means that there is a health report card with our value system and our money, but it's pinpointed with feminine energy and the freedoms and the actions of the body because it's Hygeia, which is a health report card, and it's Venus. So it's our values and feminine energy, but it can be banking and it can be literally who you value, what you value, and self love and self worth, but also money in the bank. But how about my body? The freedoms of my body. A lot going on in the States in regards to that. I don't want to take a deep dive on that here. When we get between the 13th and the 16th, Venus is now conjunct Selena or, yeah, Selena, Neptune energy. She gets a little rose colored glasses with values here. So just keep that in mind. It won't last forever. Okay. But keep that in mind that that's happening at the same time. You got Selena under the Neptune influence as Mars is. You follow with Nessus up there. So that combination happens at the same time. And let me double check that over here and see my report card on myself, my report card, my notes. Okay. The 14th to the 16th, we've got the Mars and the Nessus thing. Um, we are also going to have Ceres, Ceres, Ceres and Chiron. Chiron are squaring each other. Ceres is in Capricorn. Ceres is grains and food. Capricorn is businesses and government. It's squaring Chiron. Chiron is the wounds. Chiron's in Aries, the wounds of our body. Let's go take a quick look. Did I draw that line? No, I didn't. I'm going to do it now. Chiron's at 19. Ceres catches up between the 13th and the 16th. Ceres catches up as in a tight, tight T square. Remember, the 19 degrees is important because that's an eclipse point, right? So if there's a tight T square, there may be sanctions on grains with different governments who are warring on different people. Like there's a lot of shit between Russia and Ukraine, Israel and Gaza and Palestine. A lot of crazy shit where other nations believe other nations do not have a right to exist. War is an extension. It's an extension of politics, and it's an extension of foreign policy, unfortunately. Okay. Right here, this is Jupiter and Uranus, 19 degrees to 21 degrees, getting really close. So it's a change of values, likely Ethereum, possibly going to be the Bitcoin having number one. So going to be jumping up in its values. Once it takes a spike, it might go down again. I'm not an economist though. I'm not a don't go by my words. Go do your own homework when it comes to that. We're battling with that. We're trying to adjust our values, and we're stubborn because we're Taurus, right? We're fixed. We want the ancient and the old and the tried and the tested, but we have to change and grow. And that's what Uranus is trying to urge us to do. It's trying to say, I know this is different. I know it's uncomfortable, but if you don't change and adapt, you will die. After the eclipse, the days following the eclipse, right? Because on the 8th, the moon was at 19 in Aries. Well, guess what? So you've got like the 13th, the 14th, the 15th, where the moon will be in Taurus, which means that when I spoke of the 13th, 14th, and 15th, and 16th, the moon will be conjunct Jupiter, will be conjunct Uranus, will be conjunct Black Moon Lilith. Right. Remember, the moon is your feelings and your emotions. The moon is also the public. Okay. So it's like between 19 and 21 degrees. Do you have something in your chart? I know I do. So I have been trying to just mentally and emotionally prepare myself to don't overreact, whatever happens, because when my emotions get too caught up in something. I pay for it physically, like it completely affects the nerves in my body. Everything just starts to go haywire. And so we're just keeping all that in mind. From the 13th to the 16th, the sun in Aries, the sun's going to move on, and the sun will be sitting right here, conjunct Eris at 24 degrees. You see that? The sun will be conjunct Eris. Eris is the female warrior who's angry. She never had a place at the table. The sun will be conjunct Eris, so they will have a time when they're sitting at the table together. So it's almost like a new battle plan, a change in the battle plan. Feminine energy is present, though. Feminine energy has a voice. The sun is an authority figure. Aries energy is my body, right? How I'm acting. It's not just about war, but the freedoms of my body, the independence of my body autonomy. I'm going to leave you off with this. The 16th, Monday, our video is going to start there, and it is going to start off. Take a close look at this. When Monday comes around on the 16th, this Venus will be conjunct the North Node and Chiron. They're all going to be sitting closely together and having a conversation. But more importantly, this Mercury will be at 15 degrees with Venus and with Chiron. And that's where we will pick up the video for next week. Yeah, it shut down again, so I'm signing off. Just know that I appreciate you being here with me, and I always appreciate your time, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.